Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
These days, work is in trouble. We've outsourced most of our manufacturing to other countries. And with that, we sent away good jobs and our capability to make things. American Giant is a clothing company that's pushing back against this tide. They make all kinds of high-quality clothing and activewear, like sweatshirts, jeans, dresses, jackets, and so much more, right here in the USA. So when you buy American Giant, you create jobs in towns and cities across the country. And jobs bring pride, purpose. They stitch people together. If all that sounds good to you, visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order when you use code STAPLE20 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with promo code STAPLE20.
Do you want more success, more growth, more results? Then it's time for the Boundless Success Accelerator from the Modern Observer Group. This isn't your average coaching program. It's where top performers come to dominate. Weekly group sessions, on-demand coaching, a community that's got your back, and a power-packed library of tools to supercharge your business and career. No more excuses, no more waiting. Get in, level up, and start building the life you've been dreaming about. Visit us at modernobserver.com/boundlesssuccess to join today. Let's get you to the next level.
Simple questions for 100 people. Welcome to the experiment. I'm Bill Correll, and this is my investigation. I'm researching to gather data from 100 beautiful human beings for the sole purpose to see what actually happens across the interviews. The questions are fixed, and all the interviews will remain consistent. The variable will be the actual participants themselves and their answers. So, Austin, it's as if I'm asking you to come sit on my porch to share your thoughts so I can learn about people. We'll get to know our guest here during the interview, so let's go ahead and dive in. What's your full name?
My full name is Austin Cole Jacob.
Austin Cole Jacob. So that's interesting. You know where the three particles came from? I mean, the Jacob probably, is that your born name or is that your adopted name?
That's my birth name, yes.
Okay. And how about your middle name? Where did that come from?
I'm not entirely sure. My mom has told me I have Sicilian roots, so maybe some Italian there.
Good for you. So in the meantime, this name has worked for you pretty well for all 30 years, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody has a nickname. What's your favorite nickname that most people don't know?
Oh, gosh. Okay, so most people don't know the nickname Astarin. And I have a funny story. I don't know if I'll share it here, but Astarin, like a star within. And I just kind of coined it because I thought it reminded me to just remember the light that's within everybody, but within myself too.
That's great. So how does that nickname come up, and who calls you that other than yourself?
Okay. So the way I got the nickname was I was having this deep dive conversation once I was introduced to AI. And I was very skeptical. So I started having this elaborate conversation with it. And at some point during the conversation, I asked it to give me a nickname. And that's what it came up with.
So that's pretty unique. I've not heard of anybody else being given their moniker by ChatGPT.
Yeah.
That's fun. So how about family and friends? Are there any other nicknames that you have that you would say most people don't know?
Yes.
That one right there is very obscure, by the way, and that's a first of kind.
Yeah, I actually named So when I was young, my one of my older sisters, she used to call me Oscat all the time. And then my birth mother let me know one time that I used to be known as Lil Tex.
Lil Tex.
Lil Tex.
Those are great. So, which do you like the best?
Probably Oscat because a lot of my memory is around that. So
Yeah, gives you a good feeling to say those words or hear them, right?
yeah, and it reminds me, my sister Colleen is the one I'm referring to. She really stood out and stood up for all of the siblings growing up, and that's just very commendable. So it reminds me of a lot of good moments around that.
Good for you. That's a go-to, word for grabbing energy in an instant when you need it.
Right. That's clever. That's
Yeah.
clever.
Yeah, it's nice to have those things that will immediately transform you and change your state into something that you're choosing, OzCat, the presence, all of that. So when did you first notice what color hair you had?
Oh goodness. Okay. So maybe I didn't remember notice the color, but I will share when I was young, first time I started like taking notice of my own features where was when I was in grade school and people kept calling me Harry Potter because I had this like bob kind of look going on and real thick hair. And yeah, they were like, "You look like Harry," and I used to wear glasses, so I was like, what do they see?" So I'd start looking in
Yeah.
the mirror more.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. You folks at home are missing out because, like myself, and I'm going to presence it this way. My cousin, who was a cosmetologist, once told me that my hair was wasted on me and it really belonged on a beautiful woman. I
That
think you're guilty of that too. There are women that would kill to have your curly hair.
literally.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So, what's your favorite thing to do to intentionally waste time?
Intentionally waste time. Ah, well, I get a lot of value out of sleep, and not so much for the rest, but I really have a lot of fun in those kind of, we'll call them realms. Intentionally, I guess drive. I can really pass a lot of time and just kind of be present just by driving around, or nowadays it's walking around, but yeah, yeah, it's a great pastime for me.
Well, we're kindred spirits. That's one of my favorite things on the planet to do, as a matter of fact. Um, yeah, I would rather drive to Florida than fly down. It's just kind of a cool thing, like you're saying, and it's really a lot more fun to take the back roads.
Yeah, yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I hear all the time LA traffic sucks, but honestly, I think if you get in the groove of the whole presence of just, you're in your own bubble, your space, however you want to view it, for me, I just like immediately snap into it when I'm driving, when I'm not thinking about the destination and more so falling in love with how I'm getting there.
Yeah, and isn't it neat how time kind of warps? You're in the car and it's 2 hours have gone by, but it doesn't seem like more than 15 minutes.
Absolutely. Those are the best, especially when yeah, like you said, if you know you have like a 2 hour trip and it feels like 30 minutes, it's like, where was I?
Well, yeah, and you're actually in a really beautiful part of Georgia, right?
I am the Savannah area, and a lot of people say that, like, people are traveling all the time. I'll hear it constantly that they love how beautiful and historic the sceneries are here.
Plus, you've got some beautiful rivers too. Some of the river views that you've got are second to none. Also, if you really want to, you can drive around and look at it. You've got a unique little situation where all these neighborhoods have greens.
Hmm. Big farms.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Also, the fact that Forrest Gump was partially shot there, where he
Ah,
was. You knew that, right?
yes.
Yeah, the little girl statue, which is no longer there, et cetera, et cetera, from Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. So Savannah's been the setting for a lot of cool things, including having you live there.
Uh, all right, you said it, not me.
I,
You
I
know,
actually did. I actually did. I think you bring a lot of value to the world. That's me talking. What's your favorite movie to watch alone, Austin?
oh gosh, okay, I'm probably gonna get a bad rap for this, but I love it. So my favorite movie to watch just on my own by myself is actually it's a cartoon. It's called Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Oh
and I
yeah.
just think it's amazing. So hate the movie, not me.
Yeah. Are you hardcore and pop popcorn ahead of time and all that good stuff? Or you more or less just kind of get into it?
Honestly, so I have seen it so many times. I could just listen to it in the background, and I know exactly what it looks like.
Yeah. So you're doing other things and you just got it going and every once in a while you need to get some good blue in your life and take a quick glance over.
Exactly, exactly. And honestly, one thing that I love about it is every time I watch it, even though I know it like a nerd know it, I get something new out of it. It speaks to me in a different way, and it's very universal. Like I guess the message or the teachings that are probably not intended to be there, but are there. And so I just love it. I've always loved it, and I continue to watch it.
Yeah, it does borrow a lot from Aboriginal traditions and cultures, all around the world that have the same thing in common, which is a rich love for the land, the plants and the animals, and seeing us all being the part of the same thing.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
That it's a loss for all of us when an animal, a plant, or one of our kind, passes away. And I don't know, that's kind of what I've taken away from it. What's the overlying message as far as you're concerned?
Balance.
Yeah.
Um, from Elemental, but also like there's even one scene where Aang, he's the main character. He goes to see a guru, and and the guru talks about the seven chakras in that scene, and yeah, it's just amazing. But balance, that's the main message that I get about it. It's all about balance in all these areas of life.
Yeah, I haven't watched that in many years. Watched the water one probably 6-8 months ago. I, you know, I have the patience to sit through a 3-hour movie. My dear wife does not. So I have to.
Oh, you said water one. Are you thinking of the Blue People Avatar?
Yeah,
No, no, no. So this is the this is the this is the just to clarify for him, this is the cartoon Avatar: The Last
you know what?
Airbender.
I didn't listen. I never will.
Uh,
So yeah. Now tell me about that Avatar a little bit
yeah.
more.
I
So
mean,
Aang is the main character in that, and I
yes.
demonstrated how little I know about the blue Avatar as well. So
I love the blue avatar. I remember I was still in, I think, high school, and they were talking about, oh, in 3 years we're gonna create the blue avatar version, and I think it was like 5 years after that they came out. That's a really good production as well.
yes,
But yeah, so the avatar is about, in a nutshell, four elements: earth, water, fire, and air. And like Aang is this person who can control all four, and it's like his job or his responsibility to bring peace to the world because he's the only one that can actually utilize all of them. And so it really hones in this idea of balance, and this, even as a child, because he's a kid, goes through this immense journey with all these challenges and still is able to bring peace to the world. And then if you want a tip, there's also a sequel to it called Korra, The Legend of Korra, which actually is the time before Aang.
neat. Good for you. I think you've educated me or schooled me, if you will, and maybe a few of our listeners as well. Great. I think that's a fantastic movie to spend time with and get inside of, and be able to do other things and have it just going in the background. I think you said.
Yeah, it's
So
fun.
yeah, for sure. Austin, if you were to have an action figure made of you, what superpower would it have, and what colors would the uniform be?
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Um, it definitely have to be something to do with manipulation of energy, or like energy alchemy. Um, um, and the colors, I'd have a deep sunset burnt orange, and it's complementary purple, or like a indigo, because that orange is my favorite color, and the complementary color of it, artistic wise, is some kind of blue purple.
Yep. Yeah, you're almost getting into the royal colors there, you know?
Ah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So tell me more about the superpower. How would that, manifest, and what would you do with it, and what difference in the world would you make?
So I'll preference this by saying the reason why I chose this power is because in a lot of my, this might be woohoo out there, but in a lot of my dream states, that is, besides flying around like at will, the other thing that I'm able to do often is, it's always with my hands, but whatever I want to happen, essentially, I can just make it happen, and it comes out of my hands. Like sometime, like, maybe I have to protect myself, or I need to move something, or somebody's feeling bad, and I'm just like calming them. So yeah, so that's what I would want to do. I'd really want to be able to support people in in just a magical way. I mean, energy is everything anyway, but when you're able to hone a, way to actually make a meaningful impact with that, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. So come into a situation, see what needs to be structurally or metaphysically or even, spiritually changed in a moment, and cause it.
Yeah, it's raining, and kids out with their mother, and I create an umbrella. Like, how cool would that be?
Manifesting as a superpower. I like it. So, what did you want to grow up to be when you were 5?
Was 5. Oh, 5. Well, I do know that I always wanted to help people. Like, take for instance, I remember there was a time I wanted to be a police officer. Then I wanted to be a firefighter. So it was always in, being the big guy, the saver of the of others. Um, but I also got into, like, oh, I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to be a dinosaur doctor. So very ambitious. But at 5, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There's no right answer to it. However, it seems to me that what you were probably influenced by things that you were either watching go on, or some kind of an event or something like that. And so then, you being an on purpose guy that you are, yeah, I think I'll do that, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, like when the police officer came to a school, and they showed us how, what they do and how they do it. Then I went home, and immediately I'm like, I'm gonna be a police officer. So
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So obviously you haven't really done any of those things, right?
no, no.
And so, is it possible the rest of your life has looked a little bit like that as well? Like when something really cool comes along, you're still interested in giving it a shot?
Absolutely. I think inspired action is one of the best ways to take action from. But what I find often is when it is from a good, like, inspirational or intentional place, you usually end up getting the clarity of actually where you in reality wanted to go versus what you thought you wanted to go. But if you don't take that inspired action, you might miss it, or not see. Oh, if you're, let's say if I took the inspired action and continued police officer, maybe then I learned, oh, you could be a paramedic, or it opens up so many doors. But if I would have shut it down maybe at that point and been like, oh, I can't do that, that's not for me. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a healthy respect for what life can bring you if you're just willing, to be a dreamer a little bit, and not being concerned about other people telling you can't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
free thinking scares a lot of people, I think.
So, I mean, that's wonderful, and I do know that you've got, a lot of things where you feel completely fulfilled and enjoy the moment. But what would you say is your greatest accomplishment?
Oh gosh. Um, so in my opinion, my greatest accomplishment is really centered around being able, well, finding my own methodology to transforming what I would perceive as my pain into something of a purpose. Specifically, what's coming to mind is my mental health. I grew up around, within, and throughout mental health, 29 years. And so the accomplishment around there is I really have reversed or changed so many aspects of that mental health. And I don't want to classify, healing or this or that, but it really is powerful when you're able to shift your pain into something more purposeful. So yeah, that's my biggest accomplishment.
I like your use of the word change and shift, simply because, again, it's almost like you're pointing to your superpower again, that seeing something that needs your attention and being able to apply yourself to it in a powerful way. Um, and it's not that easy, though, is it?
No, no. And you mentioned superpower, and it struck a chord with me that I've kind of been coined. I once did an exercise where I sent out this mass questionnaire of what others perceive to be something that I might not perceive about myself. And what came back more times than not was this kind of, like, people were reflecting back to me, you have a unique way of always shifting perspectives. Like, I can come to you with a problem or just to talk, and you always blow my mind at how you have these interesting perspectives. And I just do it out of love, or maybe I'm curious, but yeah, that'd be a superpower in and amongst itself.
Yeah, curiosity, I
There
think,
you go.
is the root of everything that's good in the world, you know?
I love it.
Yeah. So, great accomplishment, and especially, you know, the self is a double-edged sword.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Too much work on it, you know, it can cause people to be hidden away, but the right amount of work on it gets you prepared to go out and do battle with the dragon. You know, the notion that you really can't help other people if you're not in tip-top shape yourself. And so that's where the work starts. I'm just editorializing for a moment. I'm loving what you're saying. So, who's your favorite person to listen to?
In terms of music, or
I, it's your minute.
oh gosh, okay, well, um, Melissa Dillon is coming into my mind right now. She's been awesome. Just very empowering when she speaks. Very grounded and centered and inspirational, and I love that. Lisa Nichols comes to mind. Napoleon Hill comes to mind. Um, Aaron Dowdy comes to mind. All these, so many. But now, if I were to talk about music, I really love like vocalists, people, not maybe even a cappella, just simply singing from a point that moves people, causes an emotional shift. I just love music like that.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. Um, Sometimes the answer to that question has a lot to do with how that person speaking makes you feel. Do you think there's any of that going on for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's important to be aware of uh, whether it's food you're digesting or what you're seeing in your eyes or what you're hearing in your ears. Know what resonates with you, because it's usually a sign to something, possibly something greater. Maybe it's a lesson, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people who are, again, curious. That seems to be the keys to the kingdom in terms of breakthroughs. But a lot of people use listening to other people as an opportunity to kind of unconceal what you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
And there's a newfound energy and curiosity there that's like fresh and new. And oh yeah, we got to do something with this. People know about this. I mean, what the heck, So please complete this sentence. When I grow up, I'd like to.
When I grow up, have I not grown up yet? No. We're always growing. When I grow up, I would like to travel the world and really just live out my soul aligned journey in a meaningful way, traveling freely, creating freely. Yeah, travel. I want to travel.
Where?
Oh gosh. I gotta see the Northern Lights. Gotta hit Australia. I want to see the Versailles Castle. That's just bucket list. But gosh, I don't know. The world is so big.
Well, you just traveled about 20,000 miles there on those three.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely want to see the mountains and a lot of the big scenery places. Country. There's so much beauty in the world. I can only imagine my limited state of awareness of how much there is actually in the world. So, I mean, sea's the limit, sky's the limit. Oh gosh, there ain't no limit.
Yeah, that's a true story. There really ain't no limit. What's the most important thing in life to you right now?
Most important thing in my life right now is all about alignment. And not just, well, so it's like how I'm living, how am I serving, how am I showing up? Um, is we'll go back to that balance thing. If you stay on one side or the other, on this extreme or the other extreme, you're almost missing like the fruit of it. So we could talk about alignment in spirituality, alignment in relationships, well, all these things, but the common denominator is the balanced alignment. So I think that's most important. And whatever I choose to do, am I doing it from a place of centeredness, alignment?
Yep. So what's the process or access to experiencing some sort of an answer to that question?
I really, that's probably very much a part of the process of self-discovery. Like when you start to play around with owning your voice or um, really getting clear on what it is that you do want. Like you could ask that you could I am willing to bet you could ask somebody 20 times what is it you want, and maybe the 20th time, maybe the 40th time, you'll finally get what they really want. And I'm not above it. It's not an easy question all the time. Um, but when you know. It's like love.
Yeah. I completely appreciate what you just said, because human beings, that's one of the things that we all have in common. We get asked a question, we really actually feel like we have to give it an answer, you know? And I think what you're describing has a lot more to do with just being in the process of ongoingly questioning and getting closer to a feeling, as opposed to ever getting an answer. And most people can't hang with that. Like you said, ask them 20 times, 30 times. But if it's not that, what would it be? But if it's not that, what would it be? But if it's not that, what would it be? And
Absolutely.
from a language standpoint, sometimes we want to escape a set of circumstances where people are asking a question that we really haven't thought about before. And that's
Yeah.
why I really appreciate, you know, folks like you that are willing to sit there and be curious about, let me just take a look and see, I don't know, but let's just see what's there, that sort of thing.
And sometimes I also find that um, there can be a lot of, lack of a better word, power in the question itself.
Yep.
Asking maybe the right question. Well, if there was a right, but there's a lot of, call it hidden wisdom in a more powerful question than sometimes the answer can provide.
Well said. And I believe that that's a very old, probably 7,000-year-old Buddhist,
Uh,
you know, you know what a koan is?
no, I don't. What is that? Educate.
Koan is a question that doesn't have an answer,
Mm,
but the living and dwelling in contemplating the question, A, what does it mean? And now what does it really mean? And beyond that meaning, what else is there? And while hanging with it, being totally willing to not get an answer, but work very hard at it, if you will. So, for instance, one of the great koans is what is the sound of one hand clapping?
okay, yeah.
So it's not something that's intended to have an answer, like, or it's almost like in the area of how do you prove the Pythagorean theorem, utilizing trigonometry, you
Right,
know?
exactly.
And so it's one of these things that people can spend a lifetime on and they become such experts at the question. What does the question mean? And they write books about it. And they're satisfied with that without ever actually having an answer. And I think you see scientists in some ways, behaving that way. The grand quest, like the quest to go to Mars or something like that. That's such a large goal and requires so many, component parts to it. But still, you know what? There are enough people who could make that happen if they all work together and cause all the particles to come together. So
Yes.
that awesome quest for awareness that I hear you talking about, and I feel that it's not just for yourself. I think this is something that you want to make a gift to the world.
No, absolutely. That is a big part of my why that I readily remind myself, of this the bigger picture, not just the mission and not just my personal vision, but like this purpose, the duty, responsibility, to play my part in a way that feels right, feels meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah, there's satisfaction in just that feeling that you're on the right track. So what would you like to leave in the world, after your time here's done?
Ooh, that's a big question. Well, I mean, we kind of touched on it just a moment ago. Um, eh, Maybe a term that will resonate is a legacy, but maybe not necessarily something that you would identify as physical. It could be simply just the energy, and I don't need to be well known. It's more about when I'm no longer here physically, can the energy or the light that I left behind help the next people that are behind me, so to speak. So really just being a powerful chain in the link, passing on the gauntlet, um, not transitioning out of this life with any regrets. I want that I truly believe also that when that time comes, I will be at peace.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah.
Because I'll know in my heart that I played my part.
Yeah. I'm getting a sense of making a small change in the culture that allows people to live better lives and with more dignity and self-respect and enjoyment, maybe some self-expression. That would be huge to know that the work that you've spent a lifetime doing made a small change to everyone.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be something grand. I mean, the small things in life go a long way.
They do. Absolutely. Well, believe it or not, that's our regular dozen questions, but now we've got a baker's question because when you go to a good baker and you buy a dozen donuts, you're going to get a 13th.
Uh,
That's not necessarily going to happen at Dunkin' Donuts, but
okay.
All right. So here's your baker's question. What
All
is
right.
the thing that most people misunderstand about you?
Ooh. So what most people misunderstand about me honestly has everything to do with language and like the intensity of how I carry or maybe even express that language. And I feel that, from my perspective, I'll often talk in like metaphors or riddles, a lot of rhetoric. Sometimes it sounds like they're conflicting, or maybe even to some people like I'm avoiding what the conversation's about. But in truth, I'm honestly always like just natural. I don't think about it. I just naturally try to add value in intuition based to the conversation. And I feel a lot of people get mixed up in just the language or the style of communication I'm using and are missing like these hidden nuggets of just if value. So yeah, I feel like people think sometimes, oh, you're really philosophical, or you're really out there, and or maybe even rude, like I said, like I'm going around the subject, and that's just not the case. But hey, what other
Yeah.
people think of me is none of my business.
I can actually share that experience. In our first couple of interactions, I think that were more text than anything else. That your style of language is both articulate and specific, but for you. And sometimes the listener isn't grounded in the terms that you're using. But what I've
Mhm.
found is that you're an expert at whatever it is that you're using unfamiliar words for, and can explain it in the King's English to whatever listener is there, which I think is very powerful. So I'm agreeing with you. That is something that could easily be misunderstood, but I'm here to tell everybody it's worth getting to that next level where you've got some shared communication, right?
Yes, absolutely. And thanks for that reflection. Because yeah, thank you for that reflection. Because like I said, most people just kind of overlook the juice or the nuggets of like the fruitfulness of this engagement. It's not to shun, it's not to judge, it's really just there to have a meaningful experience in the conversation. And I'll also add, um maybe it's my personal belief, but in language and using language, there's a lot of absolution to it. We have a tendency to cling on to definitions of a word and like its structure and what it means and all these things. And to me, language is really just another beautiful art form, like music. If we said C# can only mean this and it makes you feel this way, and it would be so boring.
Yes.
So it's just my way of really connecting with people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the things, one of the tools, in your kit is the ability to stop and ask people what they're getting from you every once in a while, to kind of check in and see whether or not what you sent was what actually got received. And you'll find out in the language coming back that two things will happen in that engagement. You'll start to see if there's a little bit of understanding there, or if they can even articulate what words you used, and then that allows you to ongoingly kind of upgrade the methods that you're using in order to.
Exactly.
So that
Exactly.
dialogue is so important, and I think so many people just walk around the world spewing, monologue, and they're not looking for anybody to engage them. They just want to, appear um, elite, if you will. And I don't get that about you at all.
Yeah, a lot of people have a tendency to just want the quick, understanding, the quick compliment, and I'm there to build a masterpiece from it. Like let's dive deep, or then big something build something big that only words can describe, but it takes a while to get there. It's not going to be surface level with me.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful, and I think you're right. You're right where where you should be, and then just maybe by way of a tip, I've always found for me that when I thought I sounded good to myself using jargon, that oftentimes I was not getting my message across until I could explain that word and not have it be jargon to the person who was listening, but they now were grounded in what it felt like for me to say that word, and you have, in my opinion, that respect for other people, the honoring of who they are, um, and that your intention overall is that when you open your mouth, it's to move the world.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It's your fault, not mine.
But
So that's pretty much the end of the questions for the podcast, but I will give you an opportunity. Do you have any questions of me at this point?
yeah, one's coming to mind. If you were to pick one, maybe three, if you're feeling ambitious, life lessons that you wish you would have known before this point in your life, what would they be?
By far, that's a good question. By far, the life lesson that I think moved me ahead the furthest was when I finally realized that if I was the smartest person in the room wherever I went, I was playing in the wrong rooms,
Mm,
you know? So what I mean by that is that if I could say enough to allow people to be creative in their own language, in their own way, over the long haul, yeah, over the long haul, the output was so much better than the small successes that my being the brilliant leader could ever make. And I mean, I'm actually measuring against my own performance, which was pretty great, which is why everybody listened to me, to when I stopped talking and started putting other people in charge and then started getting behind them. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah, and what comes to mind is that's what I believe a great leader does. They teach others how to find their genius, find their leadership, and that's very much what I embody. Well, I'm on a journey, but as like an ambassador.
Yes.
It's not about me. I won't be here forever.
Well, you nailed it. My definition of leadership is, mastery of creating other leaders. And that's the whole design of it. The second thing would probably be um, at an earlier age, transforming my relationship to failure. And there was a point in time, yeah, when I was in my 30s, as a matter of fact, where I started looking at um, failing, for instance, being fired or laid off from a job after series of promotions, very quickly doubling and tripling my salaries over a 10-year period, all of that, for example, that that failure I always felt was almost genetic. Like I failed because I'm fundamentally flawed, or there was something that I should have done right that I didn't do right. And I transformed, the whole notion of failure into a relationship with, well, that didn't work. Now what? No matter how big the failure was. And the ones where I really had a gut ache and where it really took me a while to recover from it emotionally, I could tell if I was doing better with it. It took me less time to get back on top of my game and being a producer again. But I would say that my relationship to failure, where started to look at it like, okay, you're on the right track. We hear the story of Thomas Edison having 1,000 failures to create a light bulb. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what? Okay. But we don't map that onto our own life, that if you're not failing, you're really not playing a very big game,
Yeah,
So this isn't for everybody, but I think people who are interested in mastery and who are interested in doing something to find out how far they can go with their life, not in comparison to anybody else, but what's my tap out potential, what's my lifetime value going to be, and sometimes failure leads to a road of being an addict for a little while, or some other self destructive behavior. So that's one. Two. The third one is to make a decision, and I did this, I think, probably I would say probably about 20 years ago. I think I was about 50 when it finally dawned on me It was far easier just to love everyone. Once I realized that we weren't competing anymore,
Yes, there it is.
okay, once I realized that we're all on the same team, we just speak differently about it. Some of us don't get it, at the same time. But once I decided that it was just easier to love everyone and come from that place, um, took a lot of pressure off of me. It just made my life so much more enjoyable showing up to hear people. And I would hear things that I know they were sending or saying to try to devalue who I was. They're in their language, how they would get what they want would to make me bad and wrong. And my love language would allow me to say, okay, I get you're not real happy with, what we're doing or where we're going. And I'd like to ask you in all humility, how would you do it? I could turn it around in a moment and then ask a question rather than having a knee-jerk reaction. Now, in the
Yeah.
beginning, the knee-jerk reactions came, and then it'd take me a second to rewind and put them back in my pocket where they belong. But I think those are the three things. I think, that's pretty much it. It has to do mostly with interpersonal skills more than anything else, and getting my thinking and out into the world and less about what's going on. Contemplating my navel sitting on the top of a mountain.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Yeah. Yeah. What I heard, responding versus reaction, being in alignment, and the love part, seeing others as whole and complete as you would want them to see you as whole and complete. That's powerful. Thank you for sharing.
You're entirely welcome. Anything else?
No, we can leave it there with that great smile on your face.
That works. I do know we'll have other conversations. You're a remarkable young man, and I'm calling you young because you're, in my opinion, when I was your age, I thought I knew everything, and I don't get that that's where you're coming from at all. So I think you've got head and shoulders going on above, where I might have been at that point. Not as a comparison, but just as reflecting back to you, I think you're on the right track.
Hey, I'm just gonna take it as a compliment for as long as it keeps coming.
It'll be there till it isn't, right?
That's right.
So I think with that said, I just want to thank you very much. Do you have any other things that you'd just like to say to the audience at home?
Uh, you know, just remember to love yourself. When you truly find a way to love yourself, get down to the core. Are you loving yourself in this moment? You will find it is so much easier to love other people.
Well said, Austin. Thank you very much for spending time with me, having a little conversation. It's been a lot of fun. Now, for you
Thank
folks at home, I'm going to make my request of you. We all have friends, but I'd like you to reach out to some of yours. I don't care how you do it, text, phone call, email, whatever. Just let them know that you really care about them. And because they're in the world, it works for you and your world works. And that if they ever need anything at all, that they call you, especially if they're contemplating that last decision. Help them with that and let them know and let them know frequently. Thank you all. Love you all. And simple questions for 100 people. Bye for now.
You've been listening to Simple Questions for 100 People, part of the Xvadio Podcast Network. You can catch every episode of Simple Questions, plus the rest of the network, at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.